Today I'm reviewing the Vaer S5 Calendar Whitefield watch, which I bought back in December. Now that I've lived with the watch for a few months, I have an idea of how it performs. Now I was initially intrigued by the watch because of its looks, but what hooked and reeled me in was the question posed on Vaer's website. What's the best outdoor watch we could make for less than $200? Let's dig in. The first thing that attracted me to the S5 calendar field was the clean dial. For field watches especially, I think legibility is important. And while the S5 is clean and simple looking, it's not simplistic. It delivers a ton of information in a distinctly straightforward manner. The first thing to draw the eye are those large Arabic numerals. Paired with the custard-colored syringe-style hands, it's easy to get the time at a glance. But as always with watches, it's the details that provide the real beauty. The dial includes a much smaller 24-hour scale inside the main numerals. I like that these numerals are so much smaller than the main numerals. They don't get in the way, but they provide an easy option to use military time, if that's what floats your boat or rocks your socks. Additionally, Vaer's used the chapter ring to include minutes at intervals around the outer dial. The size of these numbers is in between those of the main dial and the 24-hour sub-ring, but it's their integration with the seconds hashes that I really love. It actually took me a few days to realize that they were there because they were fused so nicely into the chapter ring. So with just the numerals, we have 3 distinct markers for measuring the time, where other field-style watches focus on only one of those options. Now, the dial features are not applied, but appear to be either printed or painted on. I was concerned about this when I ordered the watch because I've had my hands on other affordable watches with printed dials, and I was deeply disappointed by their quality. Those other watches look like my grandmother used her home photo printer from 2003 and printed a photo of a clock and pasted it onto the dial. That is not the case with the S5. The printing here has the slightest bit of dimension to it, lifting those main numerals enough off the dial surface to feel definite. Vaer has also made the wise decision to keep the dial text to an absolute minimum. When will other watchmakers realize that people who care enough about watches to look at their brands do not need the words waterproof printed on the dial? Vaer simply has their brand name under the 12 and 10 ATM above the 6. Again, it's clean and I really love it. I personally appreciate the date window at the 3 o'clock position. I know not everyone likes that, but I do love a date on my watches. This window has a very thin outline, just a whisper of a border, enough to distinguish the date from the dial. I think it could have been placed a millimeter closer to the center of the dial, just to make it a little more in line with the 24-hour marks. But that's really splitting hairs. Now let's talk for a minute about the length of the hands. One thing that drives me insane is stubby hands. The hands on the S5 are perfect. Just look at the way the hour hand perfectly touches the outer edge of the 24-hour markers. The seconds and minute hands are exactly the same length and come just shy of the chapter ring, but they do kiss the bottom of the triangle marking the 12. I did notice that the second hand doesn't hit cleanly on each of the second marks, landing between them instead. Did I notice this right away? No. Did I have to stare at the dial with the watch 3 inches from my face and rewatch the close-up shots to see it? Perhaps. Either way, it would obviously be nice if that was a bit more precise. Let's circle back to that 12 o'clock triangle. I love Lume. The Lume monster might be my spirit animal. And while I was honestly worried that this dial only features pips for Lume at 12, 2, 4, 8, and 10, I actually think those spots provide enough to orient the dial in the dark. And with 15 layers of old radium superluminova, the well-lumed hour, minute, and second hands provide enough to handle the rest. Get it? While this Lume isn't bright enough to perform as a flashlight whilst walking my dog before bedtime, it does provide enough light to tell the time, and I'm pretty sure that's the function of a watch. I've also considered that a field watch historically might have been better not broadcasting one's position by acting as a small signal flare, so that seems like a good design choice for this piece. So great, this watch has a fantastic and clean dial, but what makes it so special? What justifies Vaer's claim that it could be the best outdoor watch under $200? How about the flat sapphire crystal with AR coating? Or the screw-down caseback and crown that give it 330 feet of water resistance for a field watch? It has a nice, thin 9.4 millimeters height, making it easy to wear with long sleeves and light on the wrist. It's powered by a Japan-made Miyota 2035 movement and has a 40-month battery life. It comes on a nice silicone rubber strap that provides an extra thoughtful keeper with a little locking mechanism to keep the strap end from popping loose. Vaer provides a second nylon strap, also with quick-release spring bars, giving you instant options right out of the box. I love this inclusion, as one of the nicest things when buying a watch, especially early in your collecting journey, is being able to change the look of your watch with a quick strap change. If you prefer a metal bracelet, there's a custom-fit steel bracelet you can order for an extra $70. And I love that Vaer made the metal strap optional instead of the default. I personally would rather save that $70 and not have another metal bracelet sitting in my bracelet graveyard pile. I prefer changing straps frequently. And the 20mm lug-to-lug here means the S5 is a perfect strap monster. This thing looks good on leather, rubber, suede, nylon, sailcloth. Hell, if you were stranded on a desert island and had to weave a strap out of palm leaves, that would probably look great too. Now the case on the S5 is mostly brushed, which I think is really ideal for a field watch. The crown is super easy to handle and is signed if you're a person who cares about having another brand element in an additional place on your watch. The lugs curve down sharply, giving this a nice close fit on my 7-inch. Let's circle back to that idea of the desert island. If I were stranded on a desert island, is this a watch I would be glad I was wearing when I was shipwrecked and washed ashore? Maybe. The waterproofing makes it ideal for outdoorsy situations, and if being shipwrecked isn't outdoorsy, I don't know what is. It's rugged without being made of plastic. I could use that sweet sapphire crystal as a rescue signal by reflecting sunlight into the eyes of passing pilots. The date window would save me from scratching days past into a palm tree trunk or a cave wall, and the lume is just enough to tell time, but not bright enough to attract attention from nocturnal beasts. This would be a serviceable desert island watch. Its one shortcoming would be that 40-month battery life. But hey, that might just give me the motivation I need to get my ass rescued before my watch died. Maybe if Tom Hanks had this watch instead of that silly sentimental pocket watch, he would have made it home sooner. I kind of wish I had found this watch for my first watch when I started collecting. It's got all the qualities to be a watch you could wear anywhere. It's not flashy or polished, so it might not be the best option for a formal situation, but put it on a leather strap and it does look pretty dang nice. And how many of us actually attend formal situations anyway? These days, putting on real pants instead of sweatpants can feel like you're winning. The S5 checks a lot of boxes for me. For $179, it's hard to beat, and I'm really glad it was my first Vaer watch. Now that I know that I can trust the quality of the Vaer watches, I've got my eye on some of their solar options, which would make much better desert island watches. Or maybe that new chronograph. Or should I get another diver? Remember, all we have is time. Let's make the most of it.